Have you ever had that eerie feeling like someone's watching you? Not just physically, but inside your mind. Your thoughts, your doubts, your tiny acts of rebellion? What if your memories could be rewritten? Your words turned against you? Your love declared a crime? Welcome to 1984, a world where truth is controlled, love is forbidden, and freedom is a distant myth. But here's the twist, it's fiction. Yes, but it's disturbingly familiar. Written by George Orwell in 1949, this book wasn't just a warning for its time, it's a warning for every time, especially ours. So today we're going to take a deep, immersive journey into 1984. Not just what happens, but what it means. We'll walk with Winston Smith, our tired, conflicted protagonist. We'll feel the pressure of the thought police, and we'll ask how much of this world already exists in ours. This isn't just a summary, this is a survival guide. Let's begin. 1984 begins with an odd, almost surreal sentence. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Right from the first line, Orwell tells us, "This is not your world. Something is deeply wrong. Even time, the most neutral part of daily life, is under the regime's control." We are introduced to Winston Smith, a thin, weary 39-year-old man with a varicose ulcer on his leg and dreams in his heart. He's not a hero in the traditional sense. He's tired, cynical, and quietly broken. But within him, there's still a flicker of rebellion, something the party hasn't yet crushed. Winston works at the Ministry of Truth, a tall, gray, windowless building that smells faintly of boiled cabbage and metallic dust. Ironically, his job is not to spread truth, but to destroy it. He's a records editor, meaning he revises past newspapers, books, and documents so that they match whatever version of reality the party currently wants to present. If the party predicted that chocolate rations would increase, but they actually decreased, no problem. Winston rewrites the old article so it looks like the party predicted the drop all along. In this world, there are no objective facts. There is only what the party says is true at the moment. This is where Orwell introduces one of his most haunting concepts. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. In Oceania, truth isn't fixed. It's plastic, moldable. History itself is a product to be manufactured, edited, deleted. Reality bends to the party's will. Even language begins to lose its power. Over time, the truth becomes not just hard to find, it becomes impossible to even describe. That's how totalitarian regimes win, not just by rewriting history, but by eroding the tools people used to think in the first place. And Winston feels this dissonance. He knows something is wrong. He feels a deep discomfort with what he's doing, but he can't openly resist. He walks a thin line every day, constantly looking over his shoulder, not because someone's physically following him, but because Big Brother is always watching. Every home has a telescreen, a two-way television that broadcasts propaganda and also watches you. There's no privacy, not even in your own mind. The result? You stop trusting your own thoughts. You stop remembering clearly. You stop resisting because the cost is too high. That is the world of Oceania, controlled not by bombs or guns, but by silence, fear, and the slow erosion of truth itself. Now let's talk about the real power in this world, the party, and its omnipresent symbol, Big Brother. You've probably seen the phrase, "Big Brother is watching you." It's printed on every wall in Winston City, on billboards, on coins, on children's books. Big Brother has a thick mustache and kind eyes. He looks fatherly, protective. But make no mistake, he is not love. He is fear. No one knows if Big Brother is a real person or a myth, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that he's always watching, always listening, always judging. The party operates under four massive ministries. Outer one, the Ministry of Truth, where false information is spread, which manages ongoing conflict. The Ministry of Love, where people are forced to change their thoughts. The Ministry of Plenty, which controls limited resources. Each ministry's name is misleading, a clear example of what Orwell calls doublethink, the ability to hold two opposite ideas at the same time and accept both as true. It's not just mental gymnastics, it's mental submission, and it's essential to survival in Oceania. For example, war is peace. A nation at constant war is a nation that's too scared to rebel. Freedom is slavery. Freedom means choice, and choice means error. The party says obedience is the only path to peace. Ignorance is strength. The less the people know, the easier they are to control. It sounds insane, right? But in Orwell's world, it works. Why? Because of constant, relentless surveillance. Telescreens don't turn off. They watch you while you sleep. They listen to every sound you make. Cameras follow your every movement outside. Microphones are hidden in the trees. Even your children are trained to spy on you. In fact, some of the most chilling scenes in the book involve children who turn in their parents for thought crime. One boy boasts about reporting his own father. Let that sink in. Family love is replaced by loyalty to the party. And what is thought crime? It's not an action. It's not even a word you say out loud. It's just the thought that the party might be wrong. The belief that there could be another truth. Even a facial expression, a flicker of doubt can be enough to condemn you. The punishment? Even in a world as suffocating and hopeless as Oceania, there is still one thing the party hasn't completely crushed: the human spirit. And in 1984, that flicker of resistance lives inside Winston Smith. At first, it's not a grand revolution or a heroic act. It begins with something simple, almost laughably small: a blank page in an old diary. He finds the diary in a dusty antique shop, tucked away in a forgotten part of the city, far from the cold, sterile halls of the Ministry of Truth. And in this small object, Winston sees a doorway to something lost: thought, reflection, truth. He sits down in a corner of his tiny apartment, out of sight of the telescreen, and begins to write. His hand trembles. Enter Julia, rebellion through love. Then comes something even more dangerous: connection. Winston notices Julia, dark hair, confident stride, red sash. She works at the fiction department, creating content for the proles disguised as entertainment. At first, he distrusts her. He suspects she's a spy, a member of the thought police. But one day, as they pass each other in the hallway, she slips a note into his hand. It says just 3 words: I love you. In most stories, that would be romantic. In 1984, it's an act of rebellion. Why? Because in Oceania, love is not allowed. The party doesn't just discourage personal affection. It tries to remove any sense of loyalty that exists outside the party itself. Even marriages are arranged to lack emotional closeness. Strong feelings are seen as a threat. Close relationships create personal bonds, and those bonds challenge the party's control. Winston and Julia begin to meet in secret, first in busy public places, then in more private spots: a grassy field, an old church, and finally a small upstairs room in the same antique shop where Winston found the diary. That room becomes their safe space. There's no screen watching them, no microphones they can see. For a moment, it feels like freedom. And in that freedom, something incredible happens. They begin to feel human again. They talk about memories, real ones. They laugh. They cook stolen food. They make love, not out of duty or reproduction, but out of desire. Julia brings chocolate. Winston brings poetry. It's not just romance, it's defiance. Their affair becomes their rebellion. Every kiss, every embrace is an act of protest. In a world where the party tries to control even your desires, loving someone is the purest form of resistance. The book and the brotherhood, but they want more. They want to believe they're not alone. They begin to dream of something bigger: a rebellion, a movement, a spark to burn it all down. That hope becomes focused on O'Brien, a powerful inner-party member with a mysterious air. Winston believes he can be trusted. Julia isn't sure, but the hunger for truth overpowers their fear. One day, Winston and Julia are invited to O'Brien's lavish apartment, a place filled with forbidden luxuries: wine, real coffee, fine furniture, even the ability to turn off the telescreen for a few moments. There, O'Brien welcomes them into what he claims is the Brotherhood, a secret resistance group led by Emmanuel Goldstein, the enemy of the state and former party elite turned traitor. He gives Winston the book, a revolutionary manuscript written by Goldstein himself. It's supposed to explain the real workings of the party, how they manipulate power, control the masses, and why they can never be overthrown. Winston reads it feverishly in their rented room. The ideas burn through him, that the world is always divided between high, middle, and low, the rulers, the hopeful, and the hopeless. That revolutions only swap who's in charge. The cycle always continues. That the party's true goal is not prosperity or peace, but power. Pure, absolute, permanent power. The book describes everything. It explains how the party maintains its grip through perpetual war, fear, surveillance, and language control. But here's the cruel twist. The book has no ending, no call to action, no plan to resist, just the brutal truth of how the system sustains itself. Still, Winston clings to it. He believes that just knowing the truth is the beginning of freedom, that knowledge can't be erased. And for a few short weeks, he and Julia live in a kind of dream. They are lovers, readers, revolutionaries. But Orwell never promised a happy ending. One day, while they lie together in bed, whispering about the future, a voice interrupts them from behind a hidden telescreen in the wall. "You are the dead," it says. The room is raided. The thought police come crashing in. Julia is beaten. Winston is dragged away. The room wasn't safe. O'Brien wasn't a rebel. The Brotherhood wasn't real. The book was a trap. Everything, every hope was an illusion. Winston and Julia are betrayed. There was no brotherhood. O'Brien was never truly on their side. It was all a setup. Winston is taken to the Ministry of Love, but there is no kindness here, only punishment. Long, exhausting interrogations, hunger, physical harm, mental pressure. O'Brien becomes his interrogator, and strangely, he still calls Winston my friend. He reveals the party's true goal, not just to control actions, but to control beliefs. Power, O'Brien says, is in breaking down the human mind and reshaping it into whatever we choose. They don't just want obedience, they want complete acceptance. The final stage, Room 101. It's different for each person. It holds your greatest fear. For Winston, that fear is rats. So in Room 101, they place a cage of rats near his face. And finally, he breaks. He screams, "Do it to Julia, not me." In that moment, love dies. Rebellion dies. Winston is no longer a threat. The final pages are haunting. Winston is released. He drinks cheap gin. He plays chess. He's a shadow of himself. And then comes the final line, "He loved Big Brother." It's not sarcasm. It's not rebellion. It's total submission. Winston, once a fighter, now believes the lie. The party wins. Not just by force, but by changing the truth inside your mind. Let's pause and reflect on what Orwell is really saying. Surveillance. Orwell predicted a world of constant observation. Today, our phones track us. Our cameras watch us. Our data is sold and analyzed. How far are we from Orwell's world? Language control. The book introduces newspeak, a language designed to shrink thought. Words like freedom and rebellion are removed. The goal? Make rebellion unthinkable. Today, think about how language is policed online, in politics, in media. Control the words. You control the mind. Truth and memory. In 1984, the past is rewritten. Who controls the past controls the future. We see this today in fake news, rewritten histories, manipulated footage. Truth is no longer what happened, it's what gets believed. Power for power's sake. O'Brien's lesson is clear. The party doesn't seek power to do good. It seeks power to have power. Period. This warns us against any system, left or right, that uses people as tools to maintain dominance. 1984 is more than a dystopia. It's a prophecy, a mirror, a warning. Orwell didn't write it to scare you. He wrote it to prepare you. Because truth matters, privacy matters, thought matters, and most importantly, you matter. The world doesn't have to become Oceania, but only if we stay awake, if we think critically, if we defend the right to speak, love, remember, and resist. So ask yourself, what would you write in Winston's diary? If this story moved you, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what part of 1984 hit you the hardest. Subscribe for more deep, meaningful book breakdowns, because the more we understand these powerful stories, the more power we have to shape a better one. Thanks for watching.